go back to colonial times. And from the fertile low-country soil sprung generations of newspaper men whose legacy includes the oldest daily newspaper in the South, the Post and Courier. Peter was the fourth member of his family to lead the newspapers in Charleston, and he did it with a style and a grace that is revered in our building and our community today. I encourage you to read the all too brief bio, which tells a bit about this remarkable man, but not enough about what he really meant to our newspaper and to the Low Country. He was never one to seek publicity, and my guess is he would have been uncomfortable with today's award. He started in our business at the bottom, working as a reporter at the Columbia Record, and then the Charleston newspapers. In 1959, he was named president and publisher of Evening Post Publishing Company, and under his leadership, he led the greatest expansion in our company history, transforming the Post and Courier into a true media company with 4 daily and 11 weekly newspapers and 10 television stations. But perhaps nowhere is his mark felt more than in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where his little newspaper, the Herald, took on a murderous military regime. He stood by editor Bob Cox through death threats and intimidation that the Herald remained the only voice of truth in a terrible period of death. Editor Cox remembers that all he expected of me was to do my job, simply doing the job of reporting what was happening. The Herald saved lives in Argentina. In addition to the newspaper, his passions included historic preservation and conservation, and the mark he left on Charleston and the Low Country is visible today, from the restored Anson Borough neighborhood to the thousands of acres he preserved along the Santee River. He played a major role in the preservation of one of Charleston's treasures, Drayton Hall, and his work as well was vital to preserving Four Hole Swamp. All of this earned him a spot on the board of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Charleston Mayor Joe Riley recalled, he provided the leadership for newspapers to make preservation issues important news. Without all that, Charleston would have been a very different place. Among us today to honor this humble but giant of a man are his wife Patricia, his son Pierre, family friends including our CEO John Barnwell, and John Burbage, who runs our books division, and Larry Talton, who many of you know was our publisher for many years. Both Larry and I came out of the newsroom, and it's from that perspective that Larry recalls that Peter Manigault never tried to interfere in news decisions. He respected the unique separation of church and state that is the hallmark of all great newspapers. He never complained about a story, Larry recalled. The only time I ever heard from him was to give a compliment. Larry also recalls that Peter was best known in the newsroom as a champion of environmental issues. Well, today our newspaper and our expanded media company is chaired by his son Pierre, and I am struck by the similarities between father and son. Pierre, too, has carried on his father's legacy as a champion of historic preservation and the environment. And I can echo what Larry said about his father when it comes to Pierre. Even in this tough economy, Pierre has continued to pour resources into the newspaper, and under his tenure, we are now the largest newspaper in South Carolina. Sorry, Mark, but I had to work that out. But that's not the only similarity. In my 8-year tenure as editor and now publisher, I've never had an incident of Pierre trying to assert himself in a news issue. And that's truly remarkable in this day and age of corporate journalism, and in the fact that the Lord only knows how many times I've done something stupid that has to have ticked him off. Pierre's leadership today clearly reflects what he learned from his father's side. And I'm so very pleased to be able to ask him to come up and accept this wonderful tribute to one of South Carolina's great journalists. Pierre? Great.